Thanks for sitting down with me tonight. I want to tell you about a man named Rob. You won't have heard of him. There's no reason you would have. He worked inventory at a distribution center out past the highway, the kind of place with a gravel lot and a vending machine that only takes coins. He watched soccer. He had a dog for a while, and then he didn't. He lived alone in a one-bedroom on the second floor of a building where nobody knew anybody's name. I say all this because I want to be clear about what kind of story this is. Rob wasn't looking for anything. He didn't go into an abandoned house. He didn't buy something cursed at an estate sale. He didn't read a name out loud in front of a mirror. He never did a single thing that anyone, in any version of this, would call a mistake. What happened to Rob started with something ordinary, something practical, something a lot of you have already done, and probably didn't think twice about, and probably won't remember doing until later tonight. That's the only warning I'm going to give you. I'm not going to tell you what it was yet, because if I do, you'll spend the next 10 minutes waiting for it instead of listening. So I'd rather you just hear it the way he lived it, one small step at a time, each one perfectly reasonable, right up until it wasn't. One more thing before I start. I knew him. Not well. Well enough that he called me near the end, and well enough that I've had this sitting in my head for a while now. Long enough that I've stopped expecting it to fade. So that's why we're here. Get comfortable. It starts on a completely normal night in a completely normal room, and for the first few minutes, nothing happens at all. Rob wasn't the type. That's the part I keep coming back to. The most interesting thing about him was that he snored so badly, his ex-girlfriend used to sleep on the couch, and after she left, he got it into his head to actually do something about it. So he downloaded one of those sleep apps. You've seen them. It runs all night, records the audio, gives you a graph in the morning with little peaks where you were loud. Most people just look at the graph. Maybe they tap the biggest spike and hear themselves make a noise like a drain unclogging, and they laugh, and they delete it. Nobody sits down and listens to 7 hours of themselves sleeping. Why would you? Rob did, eventually, but only because of the graph. He showed it to me at a barbecue on his phone, kind of laughing about it. There was this stretch every night, roughly 1:40 to 3 in the morning, where the line wasn't spiky. It was this low, even ripple. Steady, like the app had recorded him talking. And he said, half proud of himself, "I think I talk in my sleep now. Isn't that weird? I never used to." So he listened to it. And he was talking. That part was true. But he wasn't talking to himself. He played me one. It's not what you're imagining. There's no growling, no static, none of that. It's a man's voice. Middle-aged, maybe. Very calm. The kind of voice that reads you the terms and conditions over the phone before they transfer you to somebody else. And the recording quality is bad in the way a phone on a nightstand is bad. But you can hear it perfectly because the room is dead silent and the voice is close. It says, "What's your full name?" And Rob's voice, Rob's actual voice, but slower, softer, the way you sound at the doctor's, says his full name, including the middle name. His mother's maiden name as his middle name. He hated that name. He never told anyone that name. And the voice says, "Thank you." Then a long pause. 40 seconds of nothing but the fridge in the next room. Then, "How old are you?" And Rob answers, "Do you own this apartment or rent?" Rob answers, "Is there anyone else in the building on this floor?" Rob answers. He said the first night he listened, he got about 10 minutes in and threw the phone across the room. Here's the thing that made him crazy. And honestly, this is the part that made me crazy. So I apologize in advance. He couldn't stop. Because it wasn't one night, it was every night, going back 4 months, all sitting there in the app's history, hundreds of hours of it, patiently filed by date. And he started at the beginning and worked forward, like a man reading his own medical file. It's an interview. That's what it is. Somebody is interviewing him, 1:40 to 3. And he's cooperating. Early on, the questions are dull, boring even. Where he grew up, what he does for work, what time his shift ends, whether he drives or takes the bus. It's the kind of thing a new coworker asks you in a break room. Then, around week 3, it changes. And it's so gradual you'd miss it if you weren't sitting there at 4 in the morning with headphones on, the way Rob was. Who has a key to this apartment? When was the last time somebody came inside? When is the next time somebody will? If you didn't go to work, how long before someone came to look? And Rob answers all of it, cheerfully. That's what he couldn't get past, and it's what I couldn't get past when he played it for me. His voice on those recordings is helpful. He's not being interrogated. He sounds like a guy giving directions to a tourist. At one point, the voice asks him something about the back window latch, and Rob laughs, actually laughs in his sleep, this warm little laugh, and says he's been meaning to fix that for 2 years. He set up a camera, obviously. Old baby monitor thing from his sister, propped on the dresser, aimed at the bed, infrared. He said he was almost relieved to do it because a camera would settle it. Either there's a man in his bedroom, in which case he calls the police and it's over, or there isn't, in which case he's got a sleep disorder and he sees a doctor and it's over. Either way, over. He watched it the next morning. At 1:40, Rob sits up in bed, not startled, not slow. He sits up the way you sit up when someone you're expecting knocks on the door. He puts his back against the headboard, he pulls the blanket up over his legs, and he gets comfortable. And then, for 80 minutes, he answers questions in an empty room. The audio's on the video too. You hear the other voice, you hear it clearly, and you hear it coming from somewhere near the foot of the bed. And there is nothing there. The doorway is in frame, the window is in frame. Rob's eyes are closed the entire time. He nods, he gestures. At one point, he holds up 2 fingers to indicate a number. He smiles at something. He called me at 6 in the morning and played all of it down the phone. And I sat on the edge of my bathtub and listened. And I told him what anyone would tell him. Doctor, sleep clinic, get out of that apartment, stay with your sister, do it today. And he said, I can't. Because of the last one. The last recording he listened to. He was still working his way forward through the archive, remember? He was 3 weeks behind real time. The last one he'd gotten to, the voice asked him something new. It said, "Do you want me to keep coming?" And Rob said yes. He said yes twice. The voice asked once, waited, and asked again. Say it properly. And Rob said, clear as anything, yes, I want you to keep coming. He said to me on the phone, and I'll remember this until I'm dead. How do I take that back? Who do I take it back to? He didn't go to his sister's. He went to work. Because he was Rob, and Rob went to work. He called out sick 2 days later, and nobody thought about it much. It was 9 days before anyone went to the apartment. Nothing was wrong with the apartment. That's what I want you to understand. Because everybody expects a mess, and there wasn't one. Bed made, dishes done, wallet, keys, phone, all on the counter by the door where he always left them. Back window latched. Actually, he'd finally fixed it. The only thing anybody found strange was that he'd canceled the utilities. In advance, by email, politely, for the end of the month. His sister gave me his phone eventually, because I'd asked. Because I'm an idiot and I wanted to know. The app was still on it. The recordings were still there. All of them. Including the nights after the last one he ever listened to. I only got through one. The questions on that last night aren't about Rob. They're about a woman, her name, where she lives, what floor, how many kids, what time she leaves for the school run, whether her husband travels. Rob answers every single one. She's his sister. He gives up her whole life in that flat, pleasant, dreaming voice. And at the end, the voice thanks him, and there's a long silence. And then it asks him one more thing. It says, "And who did you tell?" And Rob says, "My name." So, look, I thought about this a lot, and I've decided the transmission thing is superstition. It's a story. I'm sitting here telling it to you around a fire because it's a good story, and because I've been carrying it by myself for a while, and I'm tired. But I'll say two things, and then we can talk about something else. The first is that the app is free. It's on every phone store. Half the people here probably have something like it, or a smart speaker, or a monitor in a kid's room, or a phone that's been sitting face down on a nightstand for years, recording nothing at all, because nobody ever asked it to. The second is that nobody listens to the whole night. Nobody ever has. You skip to the peaks. You listen to the loud parts, and you laugh, and you delete it, and you go make coffee, and you never once check the long, flat stretch in the middle, where the line is low and steady and even. That's not silence necessarily. That's just the part where nobody's shouting.